Welcome to today's Brunch Bunch, Moving Up and Moving Out. Brunch Bunch is a monthly gathering of people living with disabilities, their family members, advocates, and professionals to explore a variety of issues and to share resources. Brunch Bunch is a partnership with the ARC Prince George's County, Prince George's Community Resources, and the Archdiocese of Washington Department of Special Needs Ministries. Since March, we have been meeting virtually to continue our gatherings. We have explored resources for virtual activities to supporting loved ones living with mental illness. We do hope to gather again in person soon. Please stay connected with us to receive updates and information on future Brunch Bunch events. My name is Rachel Chung, and I am the Disabilities Coordinator with the Archdiocese of Washington Department of Special Needs Ministries, and I'm a member of the Brunch Bunch planning team. Our other planning team members include Pam Rosansky of Prince George's Community Resources and Melanie Clark with the ARC Prince George's County. Later in the presentation, we will welcome staff from Independence Now, who will share their information on their services and tools to assist people living with disabilities to move forward to lives of their choosing where they want to live. Please note that our webinar today will be recorded and will be made available to all participants. So let us begin. So what does home mean to you? Is it living with family? Is it just a place to sleep? Is it a house, condo, apartment? Does it really matter? Does home mean to you living with people that you choose to live with? So if everyone's ready to participate today, let's go ahead and see what you think. What does home mean to you? So we're going to launch a poll, and please feel free to participate. So go ahead and click on one of our options. What does home mean to you? Is it a place where I grew up? A place I can call my own to decorate, eat whenever I want to? Living with people I choose to live with? Apartment, house, or condo? I want my choice. Or apartment, condo, or house? It does not matter. Okay, great. All right, so we just have a few more seconds for our poll, so go ahead and finish that. Okay, our poll is closed, and we'll ask our moderator here to share the results. So very interesting. So a big majority described home as a place that you can call your own, to decorate how you want, eat whenever you want on your schedule. And also a very large number of people said living with people I choose to live with. So thank you everyone so much for participating in our poll today. So now we're going to welcome Shannon, who is the Director of Independent Living Services from Independence Now, who will just provide us a little overview before we get deeper into our webinar topic today about the supports and services that are offered with Independence Now. So Shannon, welcome.
Thank you, thank you. Happy to be here with you guys today. Again, my name is Shannon Menig. I am the Independent Living Director at Independence Now. Independence Now is a Center for Independent Living, which is a non-residential, consumer-controlled, community-based, and cross-disability non-profit organization. There are 400 SEALs across the United States. Therefore, 5 core services. Those 5 core services are peer counseling, advocacy, independent living skills training, information and referrals, and transitioning. Transitioning is transitioning youth and transitioning folks from nursing facilities back into their community.
Thank you, Shannon, so much for providing that resource. And we should note today there are several handouts available with our webinar for everyone to download and use. And we do have the website address as well, and Shannon's contact information, but also the website for Independence Now. So people want to connect and also see all the types of services and supports. So thank you, Shannon, so much for giving
You're
us
welcome.
that overview. And now we're going to turn it over to our speaker today as well, Rochelle, who is the Prince George's County Independent Living Specialist, also from Independence Now. And she will share some tools and ways that you can prepare to be ready to live on your own. So welcome, Rochelle.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about preparing for housing. So everybody gets to a space and a place in their life where you develop a certain maturity and you decide you want to live on your own, you want to be independent, you want to fulfill your life goals. And so there are a few steps that we need to take before we get to that point, a few questions that we need to answer. Before you can even really develop a plan for moving out on your own, you got to be able to answer a few questions. And those questions are listed on the handout right here. So I'm going to go through them with you. First one, and it's called the Housing Preparation Checklist, is how much money do you make in 1 month? Do you receive SSI, SSDI? Do you work? Whatever your total monthly income is what a apartment property uses to decide what your rent will be. And usually at Independence Now, what we specialize in is helping individuals with disabilities apply for subsidized housing. And what that means is your rent is 30 to 40% of whatever your total monthly income is. So for example, if I made $1,000 a month between receiving benefits and working, that means my rent would be $300 a month, and then I would have the rest left over for cable, phone, utilities, and things of that nature. So that's just to give you an idea. And also, it's important that you start saving up, because when you go to apply for an apartment, the first thing that they ask for when you complete the application is, do you have enough money for first month's rent and security deposit? And it's all lovely to have the dream to want to move out, but saving up is also one of the most important things. You want to save up at least $600 to $1,000 a month for moving in, and that includes expenses, not just the security deposit, but what you have to pay movers to move your stuff and get that organized, because you might not always have mom and dad or other family to help you. So these are the things you want to consider. And it's important because you have to write out a plan with like goals. And when you look into an apartment, you also want to think about your utilities. Do you want an apartment where utilities are included? Now, a few years ago, most subsidized apartments included utilities. Now we're in a time where most places are getting away from that, and part of your rent also includes what's called a utility allowance if you receive benefits. So there's money that they set aside in your rent, or they tack on with your rent, which includes the portion of your money for utilities, which may be electric, gas, and water. And the unique thing about that is, if you're on benefits and you have to pay utilities in your name, then you can apply for what's called the Maryland Energy Assistance Program, or Electric Universal Service Program, which covers heating, electricity, and gas if you receive SSI and SSDI, and the utilities are in your name, then you're eligible to apply for that program through Department of Social Services. So there are things out there that you can utilize. You just have to know where to go and who to ask and when it's time to apply for those things. And for Maryland Energy Assistance Program, you can utilize that once you get your apartment and get your utilities set up in your name. So that's very important. Let's see. 5, and most importantly, do you know how to budget your money? Do you know how much it's going to take for you to cover everything in 1 month? So when you move on your own, you got to think of things like not just your rent, but having enough money to cover your phone bill, having enough money to cover your electricity, your groceries, your prescriptions if you have to go to the pharmacy or get them delivered. So all these are things that you want to start writing down and putting on a piece of paper and setting money aside for those things, so you know exactly how much money it's going to take for you to do what you desire to do. It's all great to have a desire, but with that desire, you must have a plan to become organized so you can be set up for success. And that's what we focus on at Independence Now. We want to set you up for success. We want you to be an informed consumer so that you don't fail. And education is a big part of that. Being an informed consumer means that you can make a realistic and suitable decision for whatever your situation is. So we want to let you know all the options out there and available to you to do that. And we want you to understand that this is important because along with that budget, when you think about moving, apartment properties also look at your credit score. Regardless if you have a disability or not, if you receive benefits and you're 18 and older and you're moving, they look at everybody's credit score. And one of the big reasons that people with disabilities get turned away from affordable housing is because they have lack of established credit, meaning they never had any bills in their name, so they may have to establish some, or they have established credit and it's not good. And so if you want to move, I recommend to start that, you want to start working on things with your family, like getting your own cell phone bill in your name, getting a utility put in your name if you help out with the household. For example, some of the people that come to us and want to move have lived with their parents all their life, but they've never paid their parents' rent. But here's a nifty trick I have to tell you all, and mom and dad. If you want your child, your sister, your brother to have established credit, then you should make up a mock lease where they actually pay you a set amount of rent, because that also helps with your apartment application and establishing some rental history so that the property manager can know how accountable and responsible that you are. And regardless if you live with a family member or not, it's always important to pay a portion of the rent so that they can see that you know how to pull your own weight.
And I want to add something, Rochelle. It's very important that we start teaching our youth these skills, because when it's time to go and pay rent, it's like, they're not understanding why they have to give someone their money. So it's best to start showing them now. It teaches them a skill. It's training them for the real world. Nobody lives for free.
So true. As the saying goes, back in the day when we were kids, and you tried to be grown, and your parent used to say, you want to be an adult, I'm going to treat you like one. So this is what being an adult is. This is what living on your own will be. And we would be doing you a disservice if we didn't present all of these facts for you. So it's important. So if you're planning to move, start working on establishing that credit, and a good credit score to have. If you want to work on getting an apartment, they say that good credit is between 610 and 640, and that's average good. You get higher.
Rochelle, can you tell them where they can go and get their credit report for free?
Sure. It's right on the worksheet right here under number 6. You'll see a website that says www.annualcreditreport.com, and you can log in and put in all your information and request your free credit report from each of the 3 agencies, Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, and you can print it online directly from the website without a charge. The only thing is they'll show you everything that is in your name, but they won't show you the actual credit score. To get the actual credit score, there is a small charge, but once you print it, they'll give you the number and the address you can call to actually get that once you print your full report offline. And you can print again all 3 from all 3 agencies. So and that's important, because some of our consumers have found that when we help them pull that report, unfortunately, they might find that other family members have opened stuff in their name that they didn't know about. And it's always good to compare and contrast reports to make sure that, one, that they match, and to make sure that you're pulling the report for the right person, because your name could be Mary Smith and you could have a social security number, but they might link something to another Mary Smith on there. So you want to make sure that everything on there is definitely you, and if there's something you need to dispute, you can call them and write to each of the credit bureaus to say, this isn't me, this is the wrong social security number, and I have proof to dispute it.
Rochelle, I just wanted to note, it might be hard for some viewers to see the handout on our PowerPoint, but they are available as well to download. So everyone, please note our handout section of the webinar. That way you can view after our webinar is completed. So sorry to interrupt, just wanted to make sure people knew that both that you'll be speaking on are going to be available.
No problem, right on time. And so we want to make sure everybody is aware, because we are in a digital age, and this is also the age of identity theft, unfortunately. So if you need help looking at that credit report, let us know. We'd be more than happy to assist you. You can always give us a call and set up a time to talk. And if you feel you would like to establish goals at some point, we can email you the intake forms. As the independent living specialist of Prince George's County, I handle the folks with goals other than just housing, because we have a housing specialist who handles the folks with just housing goals. But one thing that we like to point out and share about Independence Now is that we are people with disabilities working with individuals with disabilities. And some of this that you're going through right now, it's very scary at times, but we've been through it, so we can help you walk through it. So no question is a silly question. Don't be afraid to ask or reach out to us for information and knowledge. It's very important, because people are not going to give you a break in this world because of your disability. And the last point I want to bring out that isn't on the handout is that because we're in a digital age, everybody in the housing arena focuses on documentation now. Most housing applications now require that you have your birth certificate, your ID, your social security card. And if you don't submit those documents with your application in a timely manner, they will move on to the next person. Another thing that they ask for is your bank statement. So with your application and those documents, you will also have to submit proof that you have a checking account proof that you have a savings account, and they usually ask for 3 to 6 months worth of bank statements. And for those of you out there who have a family member is your representative payee, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have knowledge of your finances and the things to do. You may need help with that, and it's okay. But the person that's the representative payee should also know that as your representative payee, they might be asked to co-sign for you. And that is required in some places if your family member is the representative payee. So these are the little nips and trips and things that we want you to know so you don't miss a beat, so that you can prepare. And we serve Montgomery and Prince George's County. And down at the bottom of this handout, you will see the address and telephone number for Montgomery County HOC, and also the address and telephone number for Prince George's County Department of Housing and Community Development. And I will say that the list for Montgomery County is currently open for vouchers and for subsidized public housing. The list for Prince George's isn't. It hasn't been open since 2015, but things change every day. So if you're really interested in moving right now, if something comes up that's available and you want to know, I recommend that you stay in the loop with us, start preparing, start getting your documents together, because before you know it, somebody could call you tomorrow and say, we have a beautiful 1-bedroom apartment ready for you to move in. Do you have everything ready? Could you move in tomorrow? If somebody said that, would you be ready to go?
Yeah, please don't wait and think, oh, when it happens, I'll start getting all the documents together. Have your documents, get your documents together now. I'm telling you, it takes a long time to get a birth certificate these days. If you don't have your birth certificate, please start that process. And Social Security is overwhelmed with everything that is going on right now, and they're not in their office. So if you need a Social Security card, you need to go onto their website, apply for your Social Security card now, and think about the mail system right now. You know, it can take a long time to get these items through the mail. So start working on it today.
If you could move on to the next slide. Okay. So this next slide is the moving checklist and housing preferences. I'm just going to go to it. 1 second. Okay, here. So this worksheet focuses more on what kinds of things am I looking for in my apartment. So you want to think about, do you want an apartment with central air? Do you want a 1-bedroom? Do you want a 2-bedroom? Do you want a private bathroom? Now, there are certain limitations to this. I will say that if you're a person on your own and you want a 2-bedroom, they're not going to give you a 2-bedroom unless you have a family member living with you, like a roommate, a sister, your child. Usually if you're one person moving on your own in subsidized housing, they're going to qualify you for a 1-bedroom either, or an efficiency. If you live on your own and you want a 2-bedroom and it's subsidized housing, those have to be the rules, or the doctor has to write you a note saying that you need an extra bedroom for your living aid and or if you have medical equipment. So these are things to think about. But other than that, everything else is fair game to think about. Like if you want the unit already furnished versus buying your own furniture. If you want it to still be one of those buildings with utilities included. If you want an apartment that has ramps and elevators and not a lot of stairs, and that's a big issue accessibility wise for those of us who are wheelchair users. These are things you need to think about. Specific
And think
type of
about, although you ask for a unit that's wheelchair accessible, it may not meet all of your needs. So you have to think about hand bars and all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes they say these units are accessible and it'll have a bump to get into the shower. Can you get over that bump? You have to figure out these things before you sign a lease. So if you take the unit saying, yes, I can deal with, everything, but then when you move in, you find out, oh, I can't get over this bump alone. Now it's going to be a process because we got to do reasonable accommodation. And sometimes they'll fight you because they'll say, well, you say that you could use, this unit will be suitable for you. And now, you're changing it. And that's your right. You can, get in and say, oh, no, this isn't going to work. We need to change it. So that's a whole process. So you need to start thinking about that as well.
That's a great point, Shannon. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yes, always remember our version of accessible and their version of accessible may
Totally
be two
different.
different things entirely. So it's so important to say what you need. And you might get lucky. There are cases where if you ask for a reasonable modification or accommodation, that they'll be able to grant it to you because it's a tax write-off. But if it's HUD funded, they can cover it. If it's not HUD funded, then paying for it is optional. And know that it might have to come out of your pocket. You might have
to connect with your local center for independent living because they may have some funds that can help you.
Yes, we do. We do have funds to assist with that.
Not all the time, but
on occasion we do.
Yeah, just connect with your seal and there's possibility of help.
Yes, we have a home modification specialist that works with individuals, and we cover things like grab bars in the bathroom and some part of putting ramps or stair lifts in. So there are funds for that, and assistive technology devices as well, if a person needs it. So it's a point of knowing where to go and where the resources are. And if we don't have the resource, we'll refer you to another agency that does. We're very good with getting people connected. Information and referral is not just the core service, but it's the heartbeat of who we are. And so one of the other things I want to talk about on the preference list, especially, is you got to think about where you want to live. Is it near a doctor? Is it near a playground? If you have kids, is it near the metro? If you don't have a car, but you need transportation to get around. All these are things you want to think about when looking for an apartment. My favorite thing is, does it have a washer and dryer in the unit? Now, with that, some places have it in the unit and some don't. I know it's my preference because I hate going to apartment where there's just one big communal laundry room because people tend to steal your clothes out the washer. So when I decided I worked and I made enough money to pick what I wanted, then looking for the unit with the washer and dryer was the first thing I wanted. But you get there, and I'm saying that to say things happen in steps. The first time you move out, it might not be the exact apartment you want the first go round. So then you have to think about, what are the things I can live with right now, and what are the things I can't live without? What are the deal breakers? And you have to make that a realistic conversation with yourself, because then you have to think about what's a want and what's a necessity. This is what independent living is all about.
And you don't have to do it alone. If you have a case manager, and you go to your case manager, a sister, your mom, or if you don't have anyone, Centers for Independent Living are here to support you.
Yes, we want to make sure you have a plan of action and don't make a foolish decision without help. Because the biggest thing we want to say mostly about independent living is that this is life, and life is trial and error. And even if you make a mistake, you can still learn from that mistake. We have consumers that we got places and we inform them, but 6 months later, they're out of their unit because they didn't prepare. But the hard thing about that is if you're out 6 months later, it's very hard when you come back to say, oh, I need you to help me find another unit, when we might not be able to do that right away because nothing else may be available because you burned the bridge where you were. But
so again, you know, when you do move into a unit and you start to feel like things are crashing, you forget to pay your rent, you forget to pay your utility bill, meet with somebody and say, hey, help me set up a schedule. What do I need to do? You can put it on, and I'm gonna tell you, everybody does this. And just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that your rights get taken away. It doesn't mean that people can come in and say, you can't do this, you moving back home. We all make mistakes. Disability or not, we all make mistakes. But when you find yourself starting to make those mistakes, ask for support, ask for help, because sometimes things can be worked out, but if you don't ask for help, then it starts to pile up, and that's what you don't want. So just ask for help. Don't feel like because I made a mistake, my rights are going to be taken away. I'm gonna have to go back and live with my auntie and I don't want to go. Allow somebody to support you and help you.
And it's okay to ask for help. I know some of you out there might be scared because you don't want anybody to be hard on you. But if it's your first time and you're learning, don't be hard on yourself. You're doing the best you can. Just make sure when you do finally get approved for a unit after the application goes in, that you read your lease thoroughly so that if you are late on your rent, say it's due the 1st of the month, they might give you a grace period to pay your rent to the 5th of the month. And if you can't do it by the grace period, then you want to meet with the property management to see what other options that you can work out so that they can document it so that you end up not having to go to court for the wrong reasons, and that's something that you don't want. So again, like Shannon says, if you need help, please reach out, but don't wait to the last minute. Try to give us enough time as possible so we can help you come up with a suitable solution.
And just remember, have a plan, and you are in control of your own destiny.
That's great advice. And I think that's really for everyone as well.
Yes.
As you mentioned, right, Shannon?
Yes.
Now, Rochelle and Shannon, do you feel like we're ready? We have many questions in our question box. So I wanted to see if we're ready.
Yes.
Oh, okay, excellent.
Let's go.
Yes, good. So just for everyone, if you look at your control panel, go to webinar control panel. Also, again, to note, above the chat feature is the handout section, because we don't want you to go away with not being able to look at those handouts Rochelle overviewed. You can look at them more closely, and there are great links on there as well. And also you will see the question box, and go ahead and everyone keep typing in your questions and comments, and we're going to go ahead and just share a few resources before we come back to the questions while people continue to type. So one of the events we wanted to make sure everyone was aware about was there will be an ARC family meeting tomorrow at 11. And this is also available as a handout, so people can click on the register now link to be able to register and to get updates on reopenings and other important information. And also Councilwoman Daniela Glaros will be a guest
She's
on there.
lovely. We have met her.
Oh,
She's
good,
awesome.
good.
Mhm.
Excellent. And you know, the ARC is always welcoming of all. So even if you're not receiving services from the ARC Prince George's County, they welcome everyone there tomorrow at 11. Also, this just recently came to one of our Brunch Bunch planning members. There's a few webinars coming up about specifically HUD units, how to calculate your income. Also, October 7th about renters insurance and preparing. So these are informational seminars, and the link for both of those webinars to register is on our resources handout with this webinar. So you can register for that. I believe they're taking place from 10 to 11. And also, please, I know we're talking about very important topics, but there's also ways to connect, to enjoy yourselves and have fun with Prince George's Community Resources. Bingo is still going on for free using Zoom. And there are prizes, of course, with bingo. We should always have prizes with bingo. So let's go ahead and get right to our questions. And we actually have a few questions about emergency housing. Or Shannon or Rochelle, you know of a resource for families if they're experiencing maybe imminent homelessness or perhaps even now for Prince George's County?
Okay, so for emergency housing, unfortunately, Prince George's doesn't have emergency housing. They're going to have to go through the Crisis Center to do a shelter hotline intake, and that number is 301 864-7095. Yes, that's the local number. And you can do an intake with the Crisis Center, and they tell you to call 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. every day to see if a bed is available. Now, if they feel you're medically vulnerable, this is the unfortunate part, the shelter will not take you, but the crisis hotline can help you come up with resources for staying in a hotel, because Prince George's doesn't have emergency housing available. How the network usually works for the continuum of care services for homeless services is that someone goes through a shelter. They get about 60 to 90 days in there, depending upon their situation. And then they can connect with a case manager. While in the homeless shelter, there are case managers, and get signed up for transitional emergency housing, which is emergency housing that you can get through the shelter through 6 to 9 months term lease.
And they also, if they're in immediate danger of homelessness and or literally homeless, they can get on the 811 waiting list if they receive Medicaid and under the age of 62.
So let me go ahead and type that into the box. So this is the Crisis Hotline. Do you remember that? If you could repeat that number again, Rochelle, people can connect.
301-864-7095.
Okay. Thank you so much. We know a lot of families and people are experiencing great financial difficulties during this time. So thank you for that resource.
You can also contact Eviction Prevention and Homeless Services, and their number is 301-909-6362.
Okay. If someone is currently renting, would that be the one that they could contact to prevent an eviction, right?
Yes.
Thank you for that. Yes. Now here's some other very good questions. I'm trying to get a lot about the emergency, okay, and for families. Okay, thank you for that. This is a quick question. I do believe Independence Now also offers money management. What if someone would like to learn better how to manage their money? What about money management classes?
We do budget seminars quarterly, once every 3 months, because we have speakers come out to do them, because we're not experts, but we do work closely with Consumer Credit Counseling Services of Maryland and the MD Cash program. The next budget seminar, as a matter of fact, is October the 15th from 1 to 3. And we'll be posting info on our website within the next couple of weeks. So make sure you stay in tune and connected with us.
And I just want to say, you can go to our website and look at our calendar. It's at INNOW.org and click on the calendar. And there's so many events that are going on at Independence Now via Zoom. And I couldn't even begin to start telling you all of them. But there's so many things going on that folks may be interested in, and they're all free. So you're all welcome to join us.
Excellent. And
I will be updating the calendar by Friday, but through the rest of this month is already there. So, and today is our housing seminar.
That's right. We were just talking about that. So again, and the website is also listed on our resource page as well, in case you weren't able to catch that right away. And go to the calendar feature, just as Shannon mentioned, a lot of great things coming, and all virtual for the foreseeable future. Okay.
Yes.
And in one way, this virtual world makes us easier to connect because we don't have to worry about transportation, right?
Transportation, it really does, because again, for people with disabilities, transportation is difficult. And so like for us, it's like an eye opener, and I'm hoping to be doing a lot of things in the office when the office opens up, but also still having a Zoom link open for people that can't get there, can be part of whatever we're doing.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Now there's a couple of questions about, this is a question I came across. What if you don't qualify for SSI or SSDI? And there's certainly people in that situation. What housing opportunities or living supports are available? So yeah, please, Shannon or Rochelle.
If you have a disability, you still can apply for, or if you have small children, you still can apply for subsidized housing. So, it's if you have a disability or if you have children, you can apply for it. And there's other ways of proving disability. It's not always having Social Security.
But you gotta have a source of income.
You have that.
I know. That's
But there's
the easy
other ways to prove that you have a disability. Some people have disabilities that don't receive services, and that's a great thing if you can work and have a disability and not receive SSI or SSDI. Because remember, that's the whole thing.
Yes.
We want to work. We want to work and not depend on those benefits. So yeah, there are other ways.
But the source of income is very important. You got to have something coming in.
Yeah.
They won't let you apply for housing if you don't have an income at all.
And for attending with Independence Now, do you have to show proof of disability or I know SSI is the easy way, in some ways to show that, but what if someone wanted to attend a class and didn't have that benefit?
So anybody can attend our Zoom classes. They don't have to have a disability. It can be a family member if they want to come for information. That's fine. Anybody can attend those classes. Now for Independence Now services, we do serve persons with disabilities, and if they can't prove disability, we have a form. It's a statement that they'll sign saying that I have a disability. So sometimes people can't prove their disability. So we don't turn anyone away, and we hope that everyone is honest that comes through our door, and says, has a disability and not just coming, for free services.
And this kind of points a little bit to what you were saying, Shannon, before. This is a question, again, from one of our webinar participants. A person, she identifies as a person who's disabled and has 3 young adults. I'm thinking that they're not children, so young adults also with disabilities. Is it possible to get housing assistance for everyone? And it looks like they want to stay together.
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. So they don't have to be necessarily a 18 or younger child, and that's what I'm thinking in this case.
So like, say I'm a mom, right? I have a physical disability. I'm a quadriplegic, and I have 3 kids with disabilities. We can stay together.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't, yeah. We can stay together.
Just know that the wait might be a little longer.
Sometimes they'll, you can get a 3-bedroom voucher. You can get a 2-bedroom voucher. It depends on the household size.
Mm-hmm.
And so in their case, most likely they'll rent a house somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Rochelle, you were talking about the waiting list.
Yeah, the wait list for families is actually more limited because of the number of bedrooms. It's not that it can't happen, but the wait is longer for families mostly.
Yeah.
So that's why Shannon was bringing up the.
Now remember this: if you're a person, I'm sorry, Rochelle, but remember this: if this is how housing works. So say you live in Prince George's County, but you work in Montgomery, you can apply for housing in Montgomery County. So keep that in mind. If you work in Montgomery County or you go to school, I think if you go to school in Montgomery County, you can apply in Montgomery County. Now, the Prince George's County list isn't open, and it's not going to be open probably for a while.
Yeah, we just had a question, and I know this is one of our family members. What other options are there for PG County residents if there hasn't been apartment opening since 2015? Have you heard of any other resources for?
Rochelle, you want to talk a little bit about the 811 list, the Weinberg units?
Yes. There are private subsidized lists open within Prince George's County properties that aren't owned by the Housing Authority, but those openings are limited as well. But we do connect with folks.
I know y'all want to be in there.
Landlords will contact us to say, we have this opening. Do you have people that could fill it? Or we help people apply for the 811 Weinberg list. Now that list covers the whole state of Maryland. So the wait list could be at least a year minimum or longer, depending upon what priority category, because the 811 Weinberg list has 4 categories. First priority are those coming out of nursing facilities or psychiatric institutions. Second priority is those coming out of assisted livings. Third priority is those coming out of group homes. Fourth priority is those that are literally homeless or at risk for homelessness.
I apologize, you guys, but I'm going to go. That was my other webinar, my other Zoom meeting calling saying, where are you?
All right. Well, thank you, Shannon. And again, we will have that website available, and then you can also look for staff, and then you can see Rochelle and Shannon's phone number and
yes,
email.
Please feel free to contact us.
All right, but Rochelle, you're able to stay on for a few more questions. Thank you again, Shannon.
Yes, okay, I'm more than happy to. And I will tell you that we are broken down according to age group.
Oh, good.
For youth 30 and under, we have a youth specialist who handles both counties. His name is Mr. Kelvin Hawkins.
Yes. Okay.
And then myself, I handle adults 30 and over in Prince George's County. And we also have a Montgomery County independent living specialist who handles Montgomery County residents. So you can always make contact with one of the three of us. And there are other options out there. It's just on a case-by-case basis. You don't know what you qualify for unless you ask and let us know things. And the more we know about you, the more that we can help you.
And I think this is, and I believe we answered this question, but I think that we did, but let me just make sure. So someone was asking if must a person with a disability be on SSI to get a case manager? And I think that's one way to prove your disability, as we know. But
only for 811 Weinberg. I can honestly say for 811 Weinberg, for that list specifically, you have to have SSI, SSDI, and not be working with another agency. For 811 Weinberg, we only take on case management if an individual isn't working with another service agency, because DDA can also put you on that list. Resource Connections can put you on that list. Vesta, any mental health PRP, if you're connected with them, can put you on that list. So we take the people with disabilities that aren't working with other case management agencies, that have no other connection when it comes to 811 Weinberg.
I'm sorry. And yes, we were talking, I know, about, please feel free to reach out to Independence Now, whether you have SSI or not, to kind of walk through that. Is that, you know?
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, we have a comment here from Melanie Clark in our question box, just for everyone to note. For someone that does receive DDA services, the ARC Prince George's County has several vacancies. So if anyone here has a family member or they are someone, so this is for DDA supports, but their information is there for the admissions director. Just a note for, because we're talking about all different resources. That's one, right, Rochelle, that people have. Now, another question we have is about advocacy, right? Rochelle, we were talking a little bit earlier before we started the webinar about the importance of advocacy. Who do you think are some key people? Today we're on Prince George's County, a little bit about Montgomery County resources, but who do you think are some key people or issues we need to be aware of for advocacy?
For advocacy, especially when it comes
low income housing,
when it comes to housing, you definitely want to think about income discrimination, because Montgomery County had passed that law for years. You can't discriminate if someone only receives SSDI and not say they can't get the apartment just because they receive SSDI. The trick with that is the amount, making sure you make the right amount and can qualify. Now, Prince George's County just passed the income discrimination law this year, finally. So we worked really hard on working with the Housing Authority with that. And also, there are other advocacy resources out there besides us. You have the Affordable Housing Partnership. And besides us, you also have what I wanted to, it's called, I want to say, oh yes, the Housing Initiative Partnership, which they do provide emergency housing options for people who are homeless, disabled or not, and they do more with things regarding foreclosure and things of that nature. So I've been at this job for almost about 12 years now. I can't believe it's been that long, but over that amount of time, I've accumulated a huge amount of resources and connections, and things change every day. So if there's something that I don't know the answer to, I'm definitely going to research it and get back to you, so that, like I mentioned earlier, if Independence Now doesn't do it, we can refer you to the agency that does.
Yeah, excellent. And there was another question about, are you aware of any paid professionals that can help people with disabilities live independently, like a life support planner, helping with budgeting, balancing the checkbook, paying monthly bills. So I'm
Yes.
thinking this is, yeah,
Yes.
go ahead,
So
Rochelle.
that usually comes through CSLA funding, community supports living person, and that's usually through DDA.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. And we also want to mention as well, another resource is, and if Melanie can also type that number in for us, for the ARC Prince George's County Benefits Enrollment Center. And that's another way to kind of begin that planning you talked about, Rochelle and
Yes.
Shannon, about what do you qualify for. There might be different services that could help you with your some resources that could help your budget to be more able to go towards housing, right? If you get assistance with your energy, right, for example.
Yes.
So yes, if Melanie could share that in the chat, again, for the ARC's Benefits Enrollment Center, just another helpful tool in your box, right? As well, when you begin that planning. I know you emphasize that a
Yes,
lot
does
today.
Dana still do that at the ARC? Please tell her I said hi.
We will, we will. Yes, excellent, excellent. Now, let's see. I'm trying to make sure we've answered all the questions. Oh, thank you, Melanie. And we'll just say it again, 301-325-7050, extension 307. And that's also available in the question box for the ARC Benefits Enrollment Center. Just another resource for people that are out there, and you do not have to have DDA services to access that center as well. Great. Wow. Well, Rochelle, we had great discussion today. And I want to, especially if people made sure they had that crisis hotline. Thank you for having all those numbers memorized, Rochelle, for us. So if anyone is
I'm known as the human yellow pages.
good,
That's what they call me in my group.
excellent.
So I'm
So
used to it.
yeah, thank you again, Rochelle. Especially again, we had a
Mm.
few questions about crisis resources. So thank you for that. So if people are experiencing that, please reach out to that hotline to get connected with that system, because we know it's a difficult time for people right now in so many ways. Oh, and Melanie also says hello to Rochelle. Okay.
Melanie.
Thank you, Melanie. So as we conclude our webinar today, thank you, Shannon, and thank you, Rochelle, for this very important discussion today about how to begin those steps planning. And we'd also like to mention that the importance of voting in terms of advocacy. And I wanted to make sure everyone was aware that October 13th is the deadline for registering to vote online, and how important, as you know, Rochelle, affordable housing is such a local, it's a local and a larger issue as well, right? But
Yes.
yeah, so like we just mentioned, Prince George's County, what's that? That's coming on 6 years, 2015.
Yeah, and then they didn't get any new vouchers. They did not meet the criteria for being granted the new vouchers from HUD.
So
Like last year, when they failed last year, the first 2 times they were asked not to apply a 3rd time. So I'm hoping when it comes up again that they'll finally be able to clear those hurdles, because it's the people who suffer. But I did want to mention as a resource, if someone on this line is already on the Prince George's subsidized housing list from 2015 and they needed an accessible unit, the county has a 504 coordinator whose job it is to make sure that every person with a disability on the list gets an accessible unit and their reasonable accommodations met when their name comes up. And her name is Nicole Garrett.
Nicole Garrett, yes, excellent.
Yes.
So we'll put her name in again in the question box so people can see. And
I have her number.
Oh, yes, please.
301-883-5576.
Okay, so we'll send that to everyone as well. And um, we just, again, we were mentioning about that advocacy and how important that is at our local level for the Prince George's County Council. So we have that ARC meeting tomorrow with the councilwoman. So just great opportunities, right, to bring up those important issues to you and your family and your loved ones. So please make sure, everyone, that you're registered to vote and that we continue to advocate for more affordable housing, because that's going to be one tool for us, right, Rochelle?
Yes, I pray every day daily that one day we'll finally get it right. So I'm keeping hope alive.
Yes, yes, and I as well. So thank you again to our guest speakers today. And again, this webinar is being recorded, so we will make sure that this recording is available for you if you'd like to share it with someone. So thank you, everyone, again for coming. Thank you, Rochelle.
My pleasure. I can come back anytime and address any other topics if you like. And
All
feel
right,
free to
thank you
reach
so
out
much.
to me, everybody.
Yes, thank you so much, Rochelle, and thank you again. So goodbye, everyone.